Hello again. Welcome to our math lesson for today. Please make sure that you have your math notebook with you, a piece of paper or a whiteboard to try out some problems, and a pencil. Okay? You should have the notes page that's titled in this way, Divide Decimals Using Fair Share and Number Lines. Okay, before we get to our lesson, let's go ahead and review an older standard for us. 1 2/10 times 3. Let's go ahead and do that. Pause the video to give yourself some time. Okay, your answer should have been 3 6/10. Here we have one number behind the decimal in our problem, one number behind the decimal in our answer. Okay, let's do 6/10 times 7/10. Go ahead and work it out on your piece of paper or your whiteboard. Pause the video. Okay, so we should have 42 hundredths. We have a total of 2 numbers behind the decimal point, a total of 2 numbers behind the decimal point in our answer. Okay, again, let's review. So if this flat represents 1 whole, this rod represents 1/10, and this little block represents 1/100th. How many tenths would I need to create 1 whole? That's right, I would need 10 tenths to create 1 whole. You can even think of it like a fraction. 10 over 10 would give me 1 whole, okay? How many hundredths would I need to make 1/10? So how many of these little blocks would I need to make one of these rods? Well, I would need 10 hundredths to make 1/10. How many hundredths would I need to make 1 whole? I would need 100 hundredths. Okay, today we will find the quotients of decimals using fair share, meaning you pass it out kind of thing, and number lines. Okay, so let's look at this number. What are different ways to name the value of this number? Well, normally we read this number as 2 4/10. Are there any other ways that we could read this number? We could say 24/10. 24/10. If you're thinking of fractions, it would be an improper fraction. And then we have 240 hundredths. If I had a 0 here, it would be 240 hundredths. And we could go on and on and on by adding those zeros and creating new names for this number. Okay, using that information, we're going to use that to help us with this problem. Use fair share to find the quotient. 2 4/10 divided by 4. Now I'm going to show you later what I want your notes to look like, but let's think about this. 2 4/10 divided by 4. Can we easily divide 2 1s by 4? No. What value for 2 4/10 that we've already just talked about can we use that is easy to divide by 4? Let's see. We said 2 4/10, and then we said 24/10. That's right. So that's what we're going to use to think about this problem, 24/10. Well, I know it's a lot to draw, and we're going to divide that 24/10 by 4. This is like asking how many would be in each group. If I had 4 groups and I was passing out 24/10, I was sharing 24/10, how many would be in each of those 4 groups? Okay, so I decided to draw 24/10. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It doesn't need to be beautiful. It just needs to be a rectangle. It's broken up into 24 pieces. So go ahead and do that. If you need to pause the video to fill that in your notes, you can. Okay, now we're going to split this model up into 4 groups. Okay, well, I'm going to pass out. This one goes to group 1, this one goes to group 2, this one goes to group 3, this one goes to group 4. Goes to group 1, goes to group 2, goes to 3, goes to 4. Goes to 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4. Goes to 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4. Why am I doing 4 groups? Because I'm making 4 groups out of this 24/10. Goes to 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4, goes to 1, goes to 2, goes to 3, goes to 4. Okay, if you were to collect each group, how many tenths would be in group 1? How many tenths would be in group 2? How many tenths would be in group 3, group 4? They should all have the same amount, right? So let's go ahead and count. How many tenths would be in group 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths would be in group 4. So in each of those 4 groups, if I have 24 tenths, I'd have 6 tenths in each of those 4 groups. Love it when we use division because there's a beautiful way to check it. How can we check our answer with division? We can use multiplication. So let's take our 6 tenths, which is our quotient, and multiply it by our divisor. And we're hoping that when we get our answer down here, we end up with our dividend of 2 and 4 tenths. So let's see. 6 times 4, that gives me 24. I have one number behind the decimal here, so I have one number behind the decimal here. Check. We got our goal of 2 and 4 tenths. Was that our answer? No. Our answer was 6 tenths. I was able to put 6 tenths into each of those 4 groups. Okay, so your notes should look like this. Okay, please make your notes look like mine if they don't already. Pause the video if you need to do so. Okay, so let's look at a different one. This does not need to go into your notes, but it's just a different way of looking at it. If I have 24 tenths divided by 4, here's my 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. I'm asking how many would be in each group, just like I was before, but this time we're just going to pass it out. Each of those circles represents the 4 groups. So one of the groups of the 4, right? So I pass out a tenth, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I passed out 4 of the 24 tenths so far. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 24. Whoops, I wanted to keep counting. So I passed out my 24 tenths, and I have them each in our 4 groups. How many of those tenths are in each group? And you should be able to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths are in each group. 6 tenths. Okay, I'd like for you to try one. Use fair share, this method of passing out. You can do the circles if you prefer that way, or you can do the big rectangle broken up into tenths, those tenth rods, if you'd like. Go ahead and pause the video. You're doing 1 and 8 tenths divided by 6. Pause the video so you can work on it. Okay, let's check our work here. So I have 18 tenths, because 1 and 8 tenths is the same as 18 tenths. So I drew those 18 tenth rods. Okay, I broke them up into 6 groups. And in each group, I have 1, 2, 3 tenths. So my answer here is 3 tenths. I can check that by doing 3 tenths times 6, which gives me, 1 and 8 tenths. 1 and 8 tenths. Okay. Now we're going to use a different method. It's very similar. It's just a different way of looking at it. If I were to break up this whole, so here you see a number line going from 0 to 1. If I was to break up this whole into tenths, how many tenths would be in one whole? You can even think of money to help you out, like dimes, right? Well, I'd have 10 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tenths that would make up this one whole. If we were to break this tenth into hundredths, how many hundredths would be in that 1 tenth? Okay, so again, think of this like a dime, and this was like a dollar. If I had 10 dimes to make $1, how many hundredths or pennies would I need to make up that dime? Well, this little piece here can be broken up like this into 10 pieces. We need 10 hundredths to make 1/10. 10 hundredths to make 1/10. Okay, just a little review for you so that we can apply that to this problem here. Joe has 1 6/10 meters of rope. He needs to cut pieces of rope that are 2/10 meters long. How many pieces can he cut? Okay, so I like this problem with the number line because a number line kind of looks like a rope. I can visualize it in my head. I can really think about it in that way. Imagine that I'm cutting pieces of a rope. So I'm going to take these important pieces here. 1 6/10 meters of rope. Beautiful. So that's how much rope I'm going to need. Okay, let's use a number line to represent the rope. Here's 2, but our rope isn't 2 meters long. Hello, it doesn't say 2 meters. What can we do to our number line? Well, we can break it up into tenths. If I break it up into tenths, I should have 10 tenths here and 10 tenths here to make up that second whole. I did that because I need 1 6/10 meters of rope for my rope. Okay, so I broke it up into 10. Where on this number line would you see 1 6/10 meters long? Well, how many tenths would that be? 1 6/10. Let's see. Just like we've been doing, 1 6/10 would be the same as 16 tenths. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tenths. Beautiful. That's what we want. We want 10 tenths and 1 to be the same. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 tenths, which is the same as 1 6/10. 1 6/10. So now we have our length of rope. Now we have our length of rope. The next important part was that we are going to cut it. Okay, so I'm just going to draw circles around what I'm cutting, and I'm going to cut it into 2/10 meters long. So let's act like we're cutting the rope into 2/10 pieces. So here's 2/10. Here's another piece that I'm going to cut, 2/10. So right now I've cut 2 pieces. Here's 1 2/10. Here's 1 2/10. 1 2/10. 1 2/10. 1 2/10. 1 2/10. So how many pieces? If each of these circles represents a piece that I was able to cut, how many pieces was I able to cut? I was able to cut 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. We were able to cut 8 pieces that were 2/10 meters in length. Okay, write an equation to represent the problem. Okay, so we took this and we cut it or split it up. So that right there is division. We split it up into this amount. So we were looking for how many groups we were able to make. So 1 6/10 divided by 2/10 gave us or is equal to 8. Just like always, we want to check our answer. So let's take our divisor or our quotient, either one on top, doesn't matter. 2/10 times 8 gives us 1 6/10. So the correct answer here was 8. The correct answer here was 8. What do I want your notes to look like? Okay, so we're on the second problem. Always make sure you include that check, right? So we have our 16 tenths, also known as 1 6/10, broken up into groups of 2/10. We were able to make 8 groups, and it checked out. That's what I would like in your notes for today so far, okay? So I would like for you to now try on your whiteboard or your piece of paper this problem here. George has a piece of string. Again, string, number lines, love it. George has a piece of string that is 1 5/10 yards. He needs to cut pieces of string that are 3/10 yards long. How many pieces of string can he cut? Go ahead and pause the video so that you can work it out on your piece of paper or your whiteboard. Okay, so here's my 1 5/10 yards. We're able to cut it up. Here's our 1, 2, 3/10 in each of those groups, and we're able to make 5 groups. So 5 is the correct answer. He can cut 5 pieces of string. 5 pieces of string. And here's our check to prove our answer. Okay, find the quotient by using a number line. This one's a little different because here we have 2/10 divided by 5/100ths. 2/10 divided by 5/100ths. We're using slightly different units. So let's look at this number line. Let's split it up to represent 2/10. You're not drawing this yet. Okay, I broke this whole up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces, and I wanted to start with 2 of those tenths, 2/10. Now, we have our 2/10, but can you circle any groups of 5/100ths? No, so let's zoom in and split this amount up into hundredths. Well, how many hundredths did we say would be in each tenth? 10 hundredths would be in each tenth. So I'm going to take these 2/10. Here's my 0. I'm going to zoom in. Here's my 2/10. Here's my 1/10. Each tenth gets broken up into 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my 1/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's my 2/10. Okay, and each of these little things represents what? Each of these little things represents 100th. So if I break it up into 5/100ths, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's one group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 2 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 3 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 4 groups. So, whoops, how many groups of 5/100ths can we make from 2/10? We can make 4 groups. We can make 4 groups. I can check that using my divisor and my quotient. 5/100ths times 4 gives me 20. 2 numbers behind the decimal point gives me 2/10. Now, some of you might be looking at this and saying, well, Mrs. Kalashian, couldn't you have renamed this 2/10? Instead of calling it 2/10, could we have called it 20/100ths, which has the same value? Well, yes, you absolutely could have done that. You could have drawn out 20/100ths and then made groups of 5/10ths. Absolutely, which is really what we did, right? If you counted all of these up, you should have a total of 20/100ths. Okay, and we can even do that in our head, right? 20/100ths divided by 5/100ths, well, that's 4. Okay, you guys are going to try one real quick. I want to make sure that we have the correct info in our notes. So here's what I drew for that very last problem. I did my whole. I broke it up into 2/10, and then I showed what that would look like zoomed in. I even made a little note saying that each of these little marks, these little tick marks, are hundredths. Each of those little tick marks are hundredths. Okay, now it's your turn. You're going to solve this problem. Use a number line to find the quotient of 4/10 divided by 8/100ths. Pause the video so you have time to work. Okay, so here's my 4/10, and I have my 8/100ths, whoops, inside. My 8/100ths inside. And it looks like, it looks like we have 5 groups of 8/100ths in 4/10. 5 groups of 8/100ths in 4/10. Again, if you looked at it like it's 40/100ths divided by 8/100ths, we still have those 5 groups. All right, so let's go ahead and do our closure here so we can end this lesson and see if we learned what we need to learn. We have 1 2/10 divided by 4 tenths. 1 and 2 tenths divided by 4 tenths. Go ahead and pause the video so you can try that problem out. 1 and 2 tenths divided by 4 tenths. Let's see. So this is the problem we're working with, number 1. 1 and 2 tenths divided by 4 tenths. That's the same as 12 tenths, right? I'm choosing to draw a number line. Here's my 0, here's 2, here's 1. This is 1 and 2 tenths. And I want to know how many groups of 4 tenths I have. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's circle our 4 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many groups was I able to make? I was able to make 3 groups. 3 groups. Okay. I'd like for you to now try number 2. 2 and 1 tenth divided by 7. 2 and 1 tenth divided by 7. Again, a number line or the fair share, up to you which method you use. Go ahead and pause the video if you'd like. Okay, I decided to draw 21 tenths, and I'm going to pass them out and make 7 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many are going to go in each group? Well, I have 3, but 3 what? I drew rods. Those are 3 tenths. I have 3 tenths in each group. All right, guys, you guys have been great. If you have any questions, please let your teacher know. Have a good one.